On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, Porter Moser joins us for an interview. We talked to Porter about the roster he's assembled in Norman, the culture he is trying to build, and his expectations for OU basketball. We talked some OU football by breaking down the preseason Big 12 media poll that was released, and we give you the greatest strength and biggest question mark for each team heading into the season. And that's it. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right. Our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Thursday, July 15th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and your health and safety are Riverwind's number one priorities. There are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's number one casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack, blackjack match, roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And Fridays in July from 6 p.m. to midnight, you can win your share of $100,000 in cash and bonus play in Riverwind's $100,000 Freedom and Fortunes giveaway. That's a lot of money. If you need help finding your way, just visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, simply the one. Now, Ted, we're recording this a day earlier than normal. I got to get down to Dallas for Big 12 Media Days. I'm very excited. It's going to be good to see all of these people in person again.
It is. It's been a long time. It's probably going to be a little weird for everyone, but it's awesome. It means that football is finally getting close.
That is exactly what it means. And I'm very excited for the listeners to get this episode because we've been teasing it for a while now. And I hope you're ready to run through a wall, people, because Porter Moser, he brings it, man. He just brings it, and it's you guys are going to really enjoy it. So please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and leave a nice comment while you're at it, and let us know who you want us to try to get on the podcast as well. Ted, I figured we start with OU football like we always do. So this is the plan. OU football stuff, Porter interview. That's it.
Let's go. I'm ready. Let's get it done.
Okay, so the Big 12 preseason media poll came out, and no surprise, OU picked to finish first in the conference. What may have surprised some people is that they didn't receive every first place vote. Iowa State picked 7, did receive 4 first place votes. The media selected Texas to finish 3rd, Oklahoma State 4th, TCU 5th, West Virginia 6th, Kansas State 7th, Baylor 8th, Texas Tech 9th, and of course, the Jayhawks bringing it up the rear at 10th. Did anything really differ from how you view it heading into the season compared to what this poll ended up being?
Yes, no way I would have Texas at 3.
Same. I have them, and once again, I do get a vote for this. I had Texas at 5. I figured, and it's not an indictment on Sarkisian. I think he's a really good coach. I do. I think he's one of my favorite offense coordinators that I've watched over the last couple of years with the way that he blends personnel and gets his guys in space. It's hard to really get things going in one offseason, right? And I know they have a ton of talent on the roster, but they got a lot of holes to fill on defense. They got a tough schedule too, especially you look at the non-conference. Things could go very wrong very quickly in those first 2 games with Louisiana and then having to go play at Arkansas. So I'm just kind of a wait and see guy with Texas right now.
Yeah, I am too. There may be a point by the end of the season where they start playing really good football, but I don't even know if they have a total lock on who their quarterback's going to be. They're replacing a guy who started like 45 or so games in a row for them with Ellinger. It's going to be difficult to do. So I think Texas was too high, and the middle tier of the Big 12 is really hard. From like honestly, outside of Oklahoma and Iowa State, everyone else could kind of finish in any order. I just thought Baylor being what 8 is too low for Baylor. I think Baylor has a chance to be pretty decent.
Yeah, I had Baylor at 7, and I mean the big question mark for me, and we're going to go through what we think is the biggest strength for each team heading into the season, and the biggest question mark. Well, the biggest question mark for Baylor for me is the quarterback position, right?
Yeah.
Lose Charlie Brewer, they got a lot of guys trying to be the guy. It sounds like it's down, or it will be down to Gary Bohannon and Jacob Zeno, two guys that we have seen before, but I love the hire of Jeff Grimes. There's the offense coordinator coming in from BYU. That may be my favorite system to watch because it is based around God's play, Teddy, wide zone, outside zone, whatever you want to call it. The entire offense is built off my favorite play in football. So there's a reason I like the Grimes hire. But, man, they had some terrible luck last year. Are you just assuming that they have some better luck and that they figure things out offensively?
Well, there's really a bunch of things. Offensively, I think they're going to be way better. It's a way better scheme. They were so vanilla last year. It was a shame to watch. They had about 4 plays that they ran offensively, and they're all pass plays. Um, Defensively, they're solid. They're going to have one of the maybe the best defensive player in the Big 12, one of the best defensive players in the country. Solid at backer, solid at defensive line. They got some skill guys. They've got a really good coaching staff, but Aranda never got a chance to meet his guys last year. Baylor was one of the most strict campuses in the country with the COVID stuff. We saw that going all the way through basketball season. I just think it's going to be a team that a lot of people are going to be shocked by.
Yeah, I I think it's definitely by the end of conference play, we get into November. I don't think anyone's going to be overly excited to play Baylor.
Yeah,
So
it's going to be a tough game for everyone. They're going to beat some people that everyone will give them no chance against.
okay. So my poll, I had OU one. Duh. I mean, they've won the conference 6 years in a row. I had Iowa State a close second. Then third, and I'm not gonna lie, man, I don't feel great about it, but just from what I've heard from Mike Gundy, from his excitement around that team, I don't know, man. I voted Oklahoma State third. I know that it sounds a bit crazy, and their schedule isn't ideal either, right? They got that trip to Boise, but just looking at conference play, Oklahoma State, I think they can surprise some people. I know that some people may view it as a year where it could all go wrong for Gundy, but if they would have had a normal year last year, and I've heard Gundy say it a couple times, they would have won 10 games, man. If they would have had the normal non-conference, they would have won double-digit games last season with everything that went wrong. So I don't know. I've got faith in Oklahoma State, and then I've got West Virginia at 4.
Yeah.
I'm a
Forgotten
Neil
team.
Brown believer. They had the best defense. When you look at the statistics, right? They had the best defense in the conference last year, one of the best in the country. And they lose some guys off that defense. They lose their best player at all 3 levels. But I'm just a Neil Brown believer. That's it. I'm believing in the process and the culture that Neil Brown's built there at West Virginia. And I don't know. I got them 4th. I got Texas 5th, TCU 6th, Baylor 7th, Kansas State 8th, Tech 9th, and of course Kansas 10th. That's what
Yeah.
I've got.
Yeah, I can't argue with that a whole lot. I'll say the West Virginia game for Oklahoma, I think, is an incredibly scary one. It's after there's going to be bunch of buildup for Nebraska, right? Big home game. Everyone's going to be talking about that. Tons of people in town, the anniversary game, all of that stuff. And then you'll have West Virginia as your Big 12 opener, Kansas State the following week, which I know they've got Kansas State circled, right? Losing to them 2 years in a row. It's going to be something they talk about through the offseason. It's going to be something that the coaches really emphasize. West Virginia sandwiched there in between. And we didn't get a chance to play them last year to earn any respect or to get any respect, with how good that team has become. So it's a dangerous spot with a really good football team.
Okay, were you surprised? Let's go through each team. Oklahoma, of course, they get the vast majority of the first place votes, won the conference 6 years in a row. Those four people that voted for Iowa State are, I would say, bold. I mean, those are bold, but we love Iowa State. I don't think there's more. I mean, we focus on Oklahoma and the state of Oklahoma on this podcast. We talk an awful lot about Iowa State, but it's simply this easy for me. It's, hey, I'm picking Oklahoma until I see someone else win this thing. Right? They got the best players in the conference. They got the most depth in the conference. They're the most consistent program, and it's not even close in the conference. I'm not sure how you could vote anyone else other than Oklahoma to finish first in the league. I know I didn't. It's going to take me seeing someone else lift that trophy at Jerry World before I vote someone else to finish first in the Big 12.
Yeah. In my opinion, you can't pick Iowa State to win it, but they might win it. You can't pick it beforehand, but they're right there, very capable of winning the conference. But there is a bit of a choke factor with Iowa State. Let's call it how it is. Last year, right out of the gate, supposed to have their best season ever, and they lose their opener to Louisiana. And I know Louisiana's a good football team, but they got pounded in that football game, and it wasn't even close. So there's a bit of a choke factor there with this team, and I don't know if the pressure is going to get to them. They can't beat Iowa. It's like, I don't know. They're like 1-10 with Iowa over the last however many games. It's not been good for them.
Matt Campbell never has still not beaten Iowa.
Yeah. So I just wonder, like, if they don't beat Iowa, I know that has nothing to do with our conference, but what does that do for the mindset of a football team that is going to be building themselves up as a national title contender?
I kind of disagree with you when you say it has nothing to do with the conference. That game, Texas's game against Louisiana and Iowa State's game against Iowa, I think when you look at the non-conference, are the most significant for the reputation of the Big 12. And it may be Iowa State, Iowa, because people are talking about this team possibly going to a college football playoff. I mean, Heather Dinich from ESPN, I think she picked OU and Iowa State to go to the playoff, or at least, they're having that discussion. If you are supposed to be challenging Oklahoma for the Big 12 title and possibly getting into a college football playoff, you can't lose to a middle of the road team in the Big Ten, which is what Iowa is. Let's just be real. That's what Iowa is right now. Like, it just can't happen in Ames. Cannot happen.
No, I'm totally with you. I was just saying, like, as far as statistically standings wise,
right. Yes.
Doesn't matter.
It obviously does not. It does not matter to the discussion we are having. You are correct. Right. I'm an idiot. Sorry.
No, but it does for the mentality of that football team, and ultimately what this conference looks like, whether or not they have a chance to. Because if they lose to Iowa, I could see them winning the conference, but I can't see them winning the conference without dropping a game. Right. I think they're going to drop a game somewhere, find themselves in the conference championship game, and they'll have a chance to win it. They had a chance to win it last year. We had some, when you look at the film, we had some mental mistakes defensively that it's like, oh my God, I can't believe that didn't cost us. There's like 2 or 3 of them that should have been touchdowns. And all of that, they're still throwing into the end zone at the end of the game with a chance to win it. So, yeah, it's going to be a tight one, but you got to pick Oklahoma. There's no doubt.
Yeah, there is. Okay, let's go through each team. So, and we'll probably have some differing opinions when it comes to the biggest strength and the biggest question mark for each team heading into the season. But we'll just go in order of the media poll. So start with Oklahoma. And it's starting to feel a little more normal saying it out loud, but the strength for OU is the defense, right? Probably more specifically the defensive line, the depth, the talent they have at the line of scrimmage, and how having a dominant group up front just allows it to be much, much easier for the linebacking core and for the defensive backs. That's what I have as the biggest strength of the football team.
Totally agree. Is that the quickest turnaround for maybe the most difficult position group to do that type of flip? Is that like the quickest turnaround ever?
It's one of them. I mean, just think of you. Just go back and think of how we felt, how OU felt, OU fans felt even after that Rose Bowl, right?
Yeah.
And just thinking, man, if they could just get a stop, right? And now look at that defense. I mean, the turnaround is Alex Grinch. Is Alex Grinch a wizard? He may be a wizard.
Well, it's just keep it simple and play with effort, have some intensity, have a standard. I mean, it's not like there's nothing that they're doing that is just like, X's and O's, like unbelievable stuff. It's, it's simple and it's effective. The defensive line thing to me is amazing. The common thought 18 months ago was, well, you'll never be able to have a top defensive line in the Big 12. You just can't get those players here. And now I think our defensive line is about as good as anyone in the country. There's going to be some teams that have some better players individually, but as a starting four and our rotational guys, I mean, there's not very many defensive lines out there that you trade them for.
Probably the most important thing moving forward is that really good jobs don't come open.
I know.
I really hope it's not Alex Grinch's last year. We'll see. Okay, so
probably we want it to be good, but if you're really good, you're going to be filling some coaching vacancies on your squad.
Yeah. Okay, my biggest question mark for Oklahoma is the offensive line. I think that's that when you look across the position groups for the Sooners, I think that's the only one where you go, okay, there's talent in the room, but how are these pieces going to fit together?
Yeah. And again, just to go back to what we were just talking about, when would we have ever thought that the offensive line was going to be the weakness or the question mark of this football team and the defensive line was going to be the strength? A few years ago, just unfathomable. So, I went a little bit more specific on like just running game and explosive runs. Hardly any explosive runs from a year ago. And I think that has a lot to do with just winning the line of scrimmage, dominating, getting up to the next level, securing blocks, and letting those guys, get all the way up to the second, even third level before they encounter some players.
Yeah. Okay, for Iowa State, my strength for that team, and I was looking at, I mean, the strength can arguably be the talent, but I think the most important thing for them, they're just so experienced, man. They just have so many guys that have played a lot of snaps for them, they've been in these conference battles, and essentially every single one of them came back except for Jaquan Bailey. Like they all came back. So they're just.
Did he go undrafted?
Yeah. He tested just really, really, which knew that guy wasn't going to test off the charts, but he did not test well. So I think that had more to do with it than anything. Yeah. But I think that's their biggest strength is they're just old, man. They got a bunch of men at this point. They got a bunch of super seniors, guys that took advantage of the extra year. They're just old. They're not as talented as Oklahoma, but they got more experience.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Experience is critical for them. And that's why they have, position by position, the best or one of the best guys at every position group in the entire conference is because they're all like seniors or super seniors, and they've been there, and all the other good guys have like made their way to the NFL, and they're just hanging on. And that team, they play well together. They capped it off with a thumping of Oregon in a big time bowl game a year ago. So not only are they experienced, but they've got a tremendous amount of confidence. They're not scared of playing anyone in this conference, including Oklahoma.
Yeah. So my biggest question mark for them, and I kind of had to go through and like, okay, where do I think the holes are? I think interior defensive line is the biggest question. And we've seen them have a good player at that position. A lot of people remember Ray Lima there holding things down in the middle for him. But Isaiah Lee is decent, but there's definitely questions about depth when it comes to the interior defensive line after a few guys transferred out. Now, I did read that the Wazariki kid is up to like 338 pounds. So they can kick him inside if they need to. I was like, wait, what? But yeah, I think that when you look at their team, not many holes, but I think the biggest question mark probably interior defensive line. Maybe the biggest question is, can they beat Iowa? But I'm going just when I look at that team, I'm going interior DL.
Yeah, I went pass rush, and I know that sounds strange considering they've got the
Yeah, Will
sack leader
McDonald.
from a year ago coming back, but Jaquan Bailey was a big part of McDonald's success. There was a little bit of kind of the Benito thing where McDonald cleaned up some stuff to get some of those sack numbers. Without Jaquan Bailey drawing some of the protection and balancing things out, I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult on Will McDonald. If they can't get another guy and they've just got kind of a one-man pass rush off the edge, it's going to make things a lot more difficult for him. And, they do some things where it's just a three-man rush, and they get home a lot out of a three-man rush. But that's because you have Will McDonald on one side and Jaquan Bailey. If they can't get that other side in their three-man rush, they could have some problems that could affect them.
Yeah. Okay. Looking at Texas strength, I've got running back. I think the combination of Bijan Robinson and Roshan Johnson is solid. I think those are two talented, capable, dynamic players. And then the biggest question mark for the Longhorns, I've got quarterback, right? I believe in Sark and what he does offensively, but Hudson Card and Casey Thompson, those are guys that are not proven in the Big 12 conference. They're just not. So that's what I got down.
Yeah. For me, Texas, the strength is just roster, just personnel. They've
Right.
got good athletes there. They've got good players there. How tough are they? How committed are they? We'll find out. But they do have a bunch of good football players on that team, or highly recruited football players, I guess I should say. So we'll see if they can, turn them into something. I think they got. I almost went coaching staff. I think they've got an excellent coaching staff. Defensive coordinator's fantastic. Did really good things at Washington, and you and I both agree on Sark and his style calling offense. Weakness, just like Iowa State, it's pass rush. They lost their best pass rusher. Did you know Texas last year as a football team only had 17 sacks, ninth in the conference last year? Oklahoma, they had 17. Oklahoma, by contrast, had 37. We had 20 more sacks than they did a year ago. If they don't figure something out there, especially after losing Osai, they've got some serious issues.
Yeah, I think they feel good about the Thornton kid, right? I think he transferred from what, LSU? But yeah, they lost their best player on defense at every level. Osai, Juwan Mitchell transfers out. They lose Stearns in the back end. Now, I guess there's an argument to be had about who was the best player in their defensive backfield, but no, I'm with you. It's hard to play defense if you can't get to the quarterback, Ted.
That's right. And, scheme is probably going to have a lot to do with it, not just personnel. The new scheme that they're going to be in is probably going to generate some different, whether it's pressures or just straight up pass rush and different things that they do. Some of that is going to change, but there's no doubt they've got to be better than ninth in the conference in sacks.
Yeah. Okay. Oklahoma State, I've got their strength as the defense, right? I believe they were the top rated third down defense in the country last year. They got good players. They're strong at the safety position with Harvell Peel and Sterling. Malcolm Rodriguez is one of our favorite linebackers in
I
all of
mean,
college
has he been there
football.
10 years now?
He's got to be a doctor at this point. We'll see what happens with Trace Ford and some of those guys up front. We'll see if they're able to generate pressure just bringing four and those types of things. But the defense was good last year. I think I don't see anything really to think it'll take a step back. And then my biggest question for them is wide receiver. Tylan Wallace is gone, man.
Yep.
Now they got guys that they like. Brendan Presley, we saw some good things at the end of the year last year. Tay Martin, big time target. Braden Johnson can absolutely fly. They got the Green twins in that they feel really good about, but they don't have that stud wide receiver, that go-to guy we're used to seeing at Oklahoma State. I mean, when's the last time it was Dez, and then it was Blackman, and then it was James Washington, and then it was Tylan, and I don't know if they got that guy right now.
Yeah, for me, strength, I went with backfield. I think their backfield's going to be really good. Good group of runners there. And defensively, they're still solid. They're still solid at every single level. They've got some excellent players, especially on the back end. They're really good on the back end, backer, and they can get to the quarterback. Weakness for me is quarterback and offensive line. They gave up a ton of sacks last year, and I think a lot of that has to do with quarterback, not necessarily just an offense thing. And what you're talking about, not having that go-to wide receiver, that's going to make things even more difficult, hanging on to the football and taking some of those sacks. So quarterback, offensive line for me. I know they've got the Sills kid, but they do lose Devin Jenkins. So we'll see if they can put together an offensive line.
Yeah, they had horrible luck last year on the offensive line. Remember what Birmingham and Hunter Anthony break their legs to start the year. Those guys are both back. Josh Sills is back. They had a kid, Danny Godlewski, transfer in. He was the starting center at Miami of Ohio. He's going to be their center. So I think they feel good about their offensive line situation. But
we need to have Whedon on again. Remember last year he told us, he's like, man, they can't block anyone.
And then they had the guys that couldn't block anyone get hurt, and there were people that were on the field that shouldn't have been on the field. Okay, TCU. I thought about going with Duggan as their strength because I really like him as a player, but I went with their edge guys. I think O'Shawn Mathis, Kari Coleman, that it's arguably the best pass rush duo in the conference. I mean, you look at statistically, you talk to some of the coaches about it. A lot of people think Coleman is a kid that is got a really, really high ceiling. So I had that as their strength. And then question mark is offensive line. They've got good skill guys. They've got good backs. They got one of the most talented backfields in the country, in my opinion. Duggan he's a gamer, man, but none of that matters if you can't block anyone. And there's a lot of people that are really high on TCU, Ted, saying that they could be the dark horse in the Big 12. I'm going to have to see them block someone before I pick them. And I looked it up. TCU Horned Frogs, 12-15 in the Big 12 in the last 3 years. 12-15. So you can pick TCU as your dark horse. I'm not doing that until I see some improvement.
Yeah. For me, strength, I went with the running game for TCU. I was shocked whenever I looked this up. TCU had the number one rushing offense in the Big 12 last year by a huge margin. Wasn't even close.
Because of the quarterback.
Well, that's right. And I think that's going to be even more defined this year. I think they're going to use him as a true dual threat guy, and that's what he is. You mentioned their backfield, really talented guys. But yes, offensive line is the question mark. A lot of that is the quarterback scrambling from broken plays, being forced out of the pocket because of the offensive line. If they can protect, block it up in the running game, I mean, this offense has a chance to be really good. We know what they're going to be defensively. They have some up and down years defensively, but this is going to be one of their up years, I believe. Really good on the back end. You talked about their pass rush. If that offensive line comes around, then this could be like, if they do, it could be what people are talking about, a team that challenges for the top of the Big 12. If they don't, well, they're going to be middle of the pack.
Yeah, we'll see. They had lots of injuries on the O line last year. The Steve Avila kid is solid at center. They do get a transfer from Memphis, Obi Easy, and I talked to Jim Nagy. The Senior Bowl likes him, like his talent, a little raw, but Gary Patterson said they've got 8 to 9 guys that they feel good about on the O line. So we'll see. I'm wait and see mode with TCU's O line. Okay, West Virginia. I've got the strength as the defense. I believe in their scheme. I think they're tough. I know they lost Sills. I know they lost Fields at linebacker. Tyke Smith transferred out as well, but Neil Brown doesn't seem too worried about it. He really doesn't. So I think that defense is going to be solid again. And then the question mark for me is very specific, and it is, can Jarrett Dagey throw a more accurate deep ball? Because he was pretty damn bad at that last season. And you have to have more explosive plays in the vertical passing game to make your life easier. And if you can't complete those, playing an offense is hard, man. It just is. So it's something they've been working on in the offseason with Daggy, and we'll see. We'll see if the improvement comes on the deep ball for him. I like some of their weapons at wide receiver, but it doesn't matter how good they are at wideout if the quarterback can't push it down the field.
Totally agree. That's exactly what I have for biggest weakness is the explosive plays. Solid running game, which that's what I had as their strength. Letty Brown went over 1,000 yards last year. Expect that to be another good weapon for him this year. Daggy was solid at quarterback. He was solid. He was, I think, better than what a lot of people expected him to bring. With that offense. He was 4 interceptions, I think, on the year. It was a safe passing game, kind of like what you're talking about. They've got to be more explosive. They got to be able to push the ball down the field. I know their defense is outstanding, and they played to that with a pretty conservative offense and didn't score a whole lot of points. But if they're going to want a challenge for the Big 12, they're going to have to be able to have some quick strike ability.
I don't have like any inside knowledge about this or anything like that, but the Garrett Green kid, the backup there.
Yeah. You were telling me about him.
He's a fan favorite, man. Like if Daggy doesn't get it done, especially early in the year, you look at that non-conference schedule for West Virginia. I mean, not easy, right? They got to go to Maryland. They've got Virginia Tech in the non-conference. Daggy doesn't play well. Would not be surprised to see Garrett Green get some chances once conference play rolls around. We'll see.
I'll tell you what's interesting. A lot of explosive passing plays aren't just throwing the rail. It's a quarterback making a guy miss in the pocket, escaping to the outside, a receiver taking a shallow route and turning it deep, and there's your explosive play. And you add a guy like that, like Green in the backfield, who can make a couple guys miss, be electric, and then that can open up your explosive plays in the passing game pretty quickly.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, Kansas State, I've got their strength being Skylar Thompson. I just think he's like 30 years old now. He's rock solid for them. And we saw what happened to him last year when he went out. Now, last year it was really tough for K-State from a coronavirus perspective. They were just decimated, man. But I do think the strength of that team is the leadership and the play of Skylar Thompson. I just think that his teammates think they can win every game if he's at quarterback for him. And the biggest question mark I have is Malik Knowles. This was a guy that I thought was going to be a really, really good wide receiver for them. And he kind of disappeared off the face of the earth last season. And, we've talked about how important explosive plays are offensively, teams are going to look at Deuce Vaughn and go, okay, how can we eliminate him from the game? And whether it's Sebastian Taylor or Malik Knowles, but I'm looking at Knowles in particular, like he's got to bounce back and have a year for them to have the offensive production that they want to have.
Yeah, I agree. Total agreement on strength. Getting Skylar Thompson back it's absolutely everything for them. Um, there was like you could draw a line in the sand in their season from like whenever he went out. I guess you got a half of good football out of Will Howard, and then that was it. And he brings so much to their running game, and their running game really suffered after that. What do you have, like 3 rushing touchdowns against us that day? I think he just brings something
On one
totally different.
leg.
Yeah,
Remember, he
uh,
was hurt.
yeah, brings something totally different to that football team. Definitely the strength for them, the experience, the what he gets in the running game as well. I think the weakness is the secondary. They've got a decent defensive line, a couple of guys that are pretty good off the edge, some big physical players. But man, whenever you think about Kansas State, you think about their secondary chasing guys down the field. Last year, they were the dead last in the Big 12 in pass defense efficiency, giving up tons of yards a game, tons of big plays a game. They've got to get better in the secondary.
Yeah, and they went to the transfer portal for that, Ted. They got a transfer from Iowa, Julius Brents. Now they've got Jerome McPherson, who you and I both like, especially heading into that OU game last year. We were like, who is this guy at safety? He's fun to watch. They also have a Louisville, however the hell you say it, transfer Russ Yeast at safety. So I think they're hoping those transfers bring some strength to the back end. Okay, Baylor, we went through it. Hey, strength is defense. They got a couple of really, really good players in Bernard and Petrie. My biggest question is quarterback. Talked about Charlie Brewer exiting, but I do love Jeff Grimes. I love the system. It's really hard to have a productive offense if you don't have solid play at the quarterback position. And I just don't know if Bohannon or Zeno or Blake Shapen or whoever else the hell is in that quarterback competition can give them the level of play they need to win some competitive games in this conference against teams. I just don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to know until I see it.
Well, I agree. And the hired offensive coordinator is definitely going to help, but it's hard to play good quarterback whenever you can't run the football. Dead last year in running the football by a huge margin. Only 90 yards a game rushing last year.
Their O-line stinks.
O-line stinks. A new scheme, maybe that helps them out, but they didn't even try to run the ball last year. So it's hard to play good quarterback when there's no threat of the running game. Everyone's just going to sit back and in good coverages, good pass defenses. It's hard to complete passes, man.
Yeah. Now I'm with you. Okay, for Tech, I guess the strength is you're looking for positivity, right? I mean, maybe it'll be Tyler Shuck, the transfer from Oregon at the quarterback position, but I put down age. They've got 10 super seniors that are most likely going to start for him. I mean, that's got to be something, right, for Matt Wells's group. And then question mark, and it's been like this for a long time, right, around Lubbock. Question mark is defense. They got tons of defensive backs transferring in. They've tried to get older and more experience and use the transfer portal, but it just has not gone great on the defensive side of things lately. Now they improved when you look at 2019 to 2020. They did improve, but not much. We'll see what the defense looks like for the Red Raiders.
Weakness for Texas Tech is that they hired Sonny Cumbie as offensive coordinator. I don't know that they're going to be able to overcome that. Sir Roderick Thompson is back, right?
Yeah.
I think he's a good player. He's an explosive guy. He's a home run threat anytime he gets the ball. If he gets a seam, he can take it the distance. The problem is in the offseason, we're getting back to Tech football, and that may mean throwing it 60 times a game. I don't know necessarily uh, if that's going to be their goal. But if they can get him going again, he's an explosive guy that they need to build off of.
Yeah, he hurt his shoulder in spring. I think it's kind of up in the air if he'll be ready to go for the season. Xavier White, their other back, also banged up in the spring, but I think they felt good about what Taj Brooks did at running back with the both of those guys out during spring ball. So we'll see. And then I guess we got to talk about Kansas. Strength, I said, Les Miles is no longer the coach.
Yes.
I will say, I did some reading up on Lance Leipold. That's an impressive guy right there. If he can't turn Kansas around or at least make them respectable, I don't know who can.
Can't be
but
done.
I don't. It may be a lost cause, but just a reminder: he got hired in April, so he still has not seen his team practice in person. So that's usually
overrated.
that's usually not where you want to be. But he did bring 6 Buffalo players with him, so maybe that'll be the strength of the team, is infusing some of the Buffalo Bulls culture into that locker room. But yeah, biggest question mark is defense. They were dead last in the country last year. They gave up 46 points per game, Ted. 46.
Ouch. Well, hey, it tells you something when you upgrade your roster by bringing in Buffalo guys. But way too many big plays defensively. I get it. They're not going to have the personnel to just be able to shut people down. But if you can limit some of those massive explosive plays, then you're going to give yourself at least a chance. I think strength wise, I like the Jalen Daniels kid, quarterback. I think he's very capable. They played a bunch of really young players last year around him. Kwame Lassiter, their best receiver, their most productive receiver, super senior, he's back. So there's a couple of things that they've got going for them if they can just block. I know that's a big if, but we'll see.
Now, for our call your shot question, asked you guys who you thought could have a surprisingly good year in the Big 12 and who you thought could have a surprisingly poor year in the Big 12. First one comes from at my ID says Rowdy D. What a Twitter handle.
Nice.
He says surprising good. Baylor Dave Aranda is a good coach and will improve in year 2. And he says surprising bad. OSU Gundy is due for a 5-loss year. Lost Chuba, Thailand. And he says, and Ford. They did not lose Trace Ford, but I'll give him a break on that. Another one comes from at OU_Morgan. That is our man, the Wizard. Ted, he's back.
Yes.
He says surprisingly good. Says surprisingly good. TCU, letdown / bad season. Oklahoma State. People better watch out for TCU this year, flying way underneath the radar and has some big additions in the transfer portal and a RB that was number 1 coming out of high school. I get all that, but I still believe, once again with TCU, I still believe that the game is won and lost at the line of scrimmage. And if their offensive line isn't better, they're going to lose a bunch of games. They are. So we'll see.
Refuse to factor in the biggest one-man swing in history. Losing Sonny Cumbie is going to be the greatest thing for their offense that you've ever seen. I'm just telling you.
Now that Meacham's got sole control of that offense, you're feeling good about it?
Yes.
Okay, let's get to our interview with Porter Moser. But First Fidelity Bank is a full-service financial institution based in Oklahoma with tailored solutions for all your personal and business needs. Checking accounts, saving accounts, home loans, and much more. They do it all. Whether it's online banking from your computer or mobile banking from your phone, everything is stress-free with FFB. Making mobile deposits, paying bills online, and moving money to different accounts could not be easier. First Fidelity Bank also provides free ATMs worldwide, making banking convenient wherever you are. They also give back to the community. FFB donates a total of more than $500,000 to local charities and educational foundations. Make your life easier and go bank at First Fidelity Bank. Visit ffb.com for more information. And make sure you send your kids to Bishop McGuinness Catholic High School. Bishop McGuinness Catholic High School has a long tradition of educational excellence. With a 12-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio, no student is overlooked. Bishop McGuinness's college prep curriculum offers 22 AP courses. There are numerous clubs and organizations for students to join. And as a proud member of the OSSAA, there are 14 sports offered. If you want to provide the best possible educational and spiritual development for your children, contact Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School or visit bmchs.org. Financial aid is available. All right, here he is. I know it took a while, but it's Porter Moser. It is our absolute pleasure to be joined by the new head coach for OU men's basketball. Porter Moser is in the house. Coach, what is going on? You all settled? Everything in place there? Norman, you all good, man?
I'm here. I'm not settled yet because there's been no time to settle, man. And it's hard for me to settle. But no, you and I were talking before, it's a good busy. It's a great busy. You know, you're putting together a team, you're working your guys out, you're meeting people, you're getting acclimated to the OU family and the passion that goes along with this fan base. So it's all a good busy. It's just, I'm still trying to move my family here, and all those things are blessed, man. So I'm excited.
I can't imagine the family is reluctant at all. Chicago to Oklahoma, a little bit of culture shock there. And you and your wife, lifelong Chicagoans, right?
No, my wife's actually from Austin, Texas.
Oh, okay.
I moved her up north to the snow. So she's excited to get back to some warm weather. But yeah, I have 4 teenagers. I got a junior and freshman in college and a junior and freshman in high school. And we just substituted the pizza for some barbecue. It's a perfect transition. And I swear we're having barbecue like 4 times a week now. It's so good down here.
Porter, you had built something so special at Loyola. Why OU? Why now? Why was the timing perfect for you to make this move?
You know, so I was at Loyola, and you put your name on something, it's hard to give up. You know, it was ranked 340 out of 350 in Division I, and they had 27 losing seasons in the previous 30 before our coaching staff took over, and then we built it up to multiple conference championships, a Final Four, a Sweet 16, and after the Final Four, it was just kind of crazy about jobs, and I just nothing seemed right to me. And I just felt like I wanted to not be that guy that just jumps after one run. And we made another one this year with almost a whole new team, except 2 guys. And again, there was a number of jobs circling, and just nothing really hit home with me until I sat down with Joe Castiglione, and he really how he laid out what Oklahoma was about, and the atmosphere amongst all the coaches and the student athletes and the community and the fan base, and everything aligned what I was looking for. You know, a guy like Lon Kruger's been here 10 years. In our profession, we know how much of a high character guy Lon is. He does it the right way. He covets a lot of the same things I do. And I just felt like this was the place that you could stay a while, stay a long time, be a destination job, and build it. And it has the resources, the league, to win a national championship. And we were 7 minutes away. We had a double-figure lead in the second half of that Michigan game to go to the Final Four. My therapist says I'll someday get over it, but I can remember like every single play of that game. And nobody ever thought we could win a national championship at Loyola. We were right there to get to that game, to get to Monday. And that's where you want to be. You want to be on Monday night playing for it. And this place has been multiple Final Fours, multiple NCAA tournaments. It's wired for success, and that's what I want to be a part of.
Why don't work at Loyola? You know, you had multiple stops, took a break from the head coaching, and went back to being an assistant, and then it all came together and it worked at Loyola. Why did it work there, and why do you think you'll be able to replicate that here at Oklahoma?
You know, I just think, we were intentional on a couple of things. I can't dismiss how much of an impact Rick Majerus had on me. You know, working for Rick Majerus, and he's just an amazing coach. The attention to detail, and at Loyola, I talked with Rick before he passed, right when I was getting the job, the first couple of years, and just be intentional with who to recruit. You know, winners, toughness, and don't bend on it. And then your culture's got to be every day. And I think that's something that, at Oklahoma, at Loyola, we just set out to win, to get guys that had won before. We had 7 guys on that Loyola, the Final Four team that won state championships, guys that covet winning. And we just were intentional to, more than I've ever been, intentional to recruiting to our offense. And then we were really coaching up the defense. And I also think sometimes this too, I think the older you get, when you're young, sometimes you're so much on this trajectory. You're about the trajectory, and the older you get, you're about the journey. And I just, I got the job when I was 41, 42. I'd been in Division I for a long time. I've had a couple stops, and I was just so much into the journey, the people, the servant leadership on everything. And it just became who I am.
Coach, I've heard you talk about culture anytime I hear you speak. Any interview I hear you do, the word culture comes up over and over and over again. So it seems like you view that as the key to your program. And I've heard things and seen things written about you, other coaches talking about the way that you develop the culture. In your mind, is that the most important thing in your program? Clearly, you want great players, right? But developing that culture day in and day out, is that kind of the way you view the best way to success?
There's a lot that goes into it, but I think everybody strives for culture, whether you're a business organization, a team, and culture means different things to different people. And what you got to do as a leader is see what your belief system are, your value system on. And the key is every day. It's are you gonna be the one as a leader that every day you're fighting for your culture? And I'll just share with you a little, transitional watershed moment for me as a coach. There's a book called Win Forever by Pete Carroll, the Seattle Seahawks coach. And in there, he talks about when he got fired from the Patriots and he was about to take the USC job over. He said he was reading one of John Wooden's books, and it was about his pyramid of success. And I'm going to walk here because I'm going to go back to my office here. So I'm hoping that my Wi-Fi doesn't go nuts. But
here we go. Could we have Wi-Fi issues? This is the exhilarating content right here.
Big moment right here now. Big moment here that I don't do this. But what I want to show you was that Pete Carroll talked about when he looked at John Wooden's pyramid of success. He goes, I sat down and made my own pyramid based on how I wanted to build the USC program. And it was kind of an epiphany for me. So I literally put the book down and I did my own. So this is my own. You can see it, but and I did it. And the different areas are, your bottom, your belief system, your theme, your environment, and all that. And those are things you believe in the culture. And recruiting is part of this pyramid. To say that culture is more important than the people, no, it's all works together. Recruiting is your lifeblood. Recruiting to have a balance of talent, character, skill, and who fits you. Those are all things that have to be intentional. So the culture, it kind of all goes together, but the people, and then what you do every day and who you surround yourself with. And, so it's a lot that goes into that. But my thing as a leader, you got to fight for it every day, because if you allow slippage, then there's nothing more than a young person sees than being phony or slippage, or, hey, you allowed this over here, but you don't allow that, or, so to me, that's my biggest thing that I feel that I think one of the best compliments one of my former players at Loyola said is, there's not a day that Coach Moser doesn't bring it every day. He fights for that culture every day. And that's what you want as a leader, because everything else you can start to put into place.
Quick break. Do you own a business? If you do, you need Insurica in your life. Insurica is one of the country's largest insurance brokers with 30 offices throughout Oklahoma, Texas, and the Southwest. Insurica is able to customize programs by accessing the latest information from many insurance carriers. They compare and contrast coverage offerings and pricing in order to design a cost-effective, comprehensive program to meet your business's specific needs. Insurica's clients become best-in-class businesses by working with Insurica's team of advisors to manage risk. Purchasing insurance is only one way to protect your business. Best-in-class businesses win by avoiding a loss in the first place. If your business partners with Insurica, you'll save huge amounts of money and take back control of your total cost of risk. I'm an Insurica client, and you should be too. If your business wants to be best in class, connect with Insurica at insurica.com. That's INSURICA.com. And guys, summer is here, and you know what that means. It's hard seltzer season, baby, and there's only one hard seltzer that we drink on this podcast, and that is Will and Wiley Hard Seltzer from Coop Ale Works. It's perfect for any occasion. We drink it by the pool, at the lake, and at the tailgate. It is made in Oklahoma, and it is absolutely delicious. Will and Wiley is customized for the Oklahoma lifestyle. Go find it right now in a store near you, and go follow them on social media at Will and Wiley. All right, back to the interview.
Coach, I'm a football guy. I played at OU way back in the day. And when I was a freshman, we won a national championship. So whenever I came in, I saw the seniors and the way they handled business. And I thought, oh my God, I want to be like that. I want to be like those guys. And for kind of like the rest of my time there, that's what I tried to do. And like you just kind of, the framework is there and you try and, carry on the legacy. The transfer portal is, a new reality of collegiate sports. So we've got to view that, but does it make it difficult whenever you've got roster moves in and out, older guys coming in when you're trying to really ingrain that culture? Does that make it more difficult, or is it just something that you've got to work through? How do you handle that whole situation?
Teddy, it's an amazing observation, because I believe in so much of your upperclassmen dictate your culture. When I was at Loyola, my first recruiting class, when they were seniors, we got invited to the first postseason basketball tournament in 30 years at Loyola. It was the CBI. So it's the NCAA, the NIT, then the CBI. So we got invited to do it. And we decided we were going to do it. We went in it and we won the whole thing. We won the CBI. And it just gave us a taste of that. But those seniors were my first recruiting class. The freshmen in those class that saw those seniors, how they worked and saw the success in the CBI, were my seniors on my Final Four team. And then the freshmen that were on that Final Four team were the seniors this year on this team. And it's just so much. You come in, and as a freshman, you're looking at how things run, because think about it, we're limited. You're around the players 85% more than you are the coaches. How are you working when the coaches aren't around? How are you acting in the locker room? What's the locker room banter like? What's everybody's driven towards? And the transfer portal. So when you take over a job, a lot of times it's guys you haven't, coached. The transfer portal, we lost a ton. Now, the great thing about Lon is, like, there was 4 players that are still left from the other team: Elijah Harkless, Mo Gibson, Jalen Hill, and Rick Asanza. Those 4 guys have been working their tail off. So that's been a great thing, but they don't know me. We're still learning terminology, systems. And then we were able to sign new guys. So I don't want the transfer portal to be the basis of my recruiting. I still want to build it with young guys, building it up, and use the transfer portal as filling a piece here, filling a piece there. Because I do think continuity is still a building block of your foundation for the future, is continuity, that you get guys in the program. It's hard because guys can leave right away. There's one and dones, two and dones. At this level, we're going to be recruiting a higher level talent, but I still think there's so much value of continuity to where they know your system, new guys come in and they just see it. And like, this is the way we operate.
You mentioned the importance of recruiting. Dead period finally ended, right? Start of June. Just how crazy was the month of June for you and your staff? And I assume recruiting a little different now. Everyone knew Loyola Chicago from that 2018 run to the Final Four, but now you've got the OU on your chest. You got the Jordan brand logo on your chest. Was that a little different?
First of all, I've seen all the other Jordan brands. I mean, being from Chicago, no Jordan brand looks better than with him on red. the crimson, to see him on blue and all that. I'm not for it. I like the Jordan on the Chicago Bulls and the OU. But no, June was nuts. Every single day we had a student athlete on campus, except the weekends that I was able to go recruit. My calendar, it literally had something every single day of the month. And, we got a lot to be proud of. We got a lot to be proud of, a lot to show them up. And the other thing is that I think I'm speaking for all coaches is the last 14 months, we built relationships through Zoom. And it just isn't the same as sitting face to face in a room, walking around, having a conversation, and where you're with them in person. And that's what I'm so much about, is building relationships. And that was just so it was so much better to be into this month of June, to where the dead period was over and you can start, building relationships again and getting a feel for each other and a feel for the place, live. And I'm looking forward to that and continuing to do that. We now enter the next phase of the July period. I leave tomorrow for the July evaluation period. Now, we can't talk to them, but we can at least see the guys with their own eyes, because there is something about, these mixtapes. Oh my gosh. You can see a guy make 5 threes on a mixtape, and then you find out, he was 5 for 42 from the field. And these mixtapes are deceiving. So, I like to watch everything. I like to watch warm-ups. I like to see him interact with his teammates. I like to see him interact with the coach. I like to see the little things of the game that your eyes can still tell you. So I'm really looking forward to being back in the gym this month of July, watching these guys with my own eyes. And I love that part of the evaluation process.
You've had a lot of curveballs over the last year. I mean, the COVID stuff, a city change, a job change, and now we got the name, image, and likeness stuff. And it's gonna be different. It's gonna, maybe some people think better, more difficult. I don't know, but it's something that you guys have to kind of embrace and navigate. And what's been the plan so far?
The plan, I love the 2 words you just put together: embrace it and let's navigate it. I love those 2 words you just put together, because it is here. It's here to stay. I do think, I am for student athletes being able to take advantage of their time. The amount of money is being made that they can do it. But I also think we need to manage it, and we can embrace it, but manage it and navigate it to where it's not going to affect your locker room. It's not going to affect your locker room in terms of, any kind of squabble, or this person's over that person, or, what he's doing here, or time management, because, there still is a lot to navigate in time management for these young guys. Academics for the first time at a college level, the travel, the pressures, this. Now we're navigating how much time they're going to spend on this. We need to. It's all new to everybody, but I do think time management, to have balance in your life, that you're now all of a sudden, now somebody's not just so far behind academically, because at a place like Oklahoma, we're going to have a lot of pros in the different sports, but you're still going to have a percentage of that are not. That, to get a college degree is still at the utmost importance. And but I do think we need to navigate, to have balance in their life. But I think we need to embrace it. These young guys, the opportunities, and women, these men and women, to have this opportunity to make money on their image and likeness, it's overdue. It's overdue. And we're going to have some bumps in the road, like anytime you have a drastic change, but we got to navigate it. Find that. And once we hit those bumps, just like any problem in your life, figure it out. How can we best manage through this bumps and to get back on track? And I think we're going to have some of that. We're going to have some of that with this, but it's overdue, and we need to embrace it, and we are embracing it. Oklahoma's prepared. Man, they've been preparing this for a year. We just had a meeting on it with our administrator, our marketing department, and man, they've been preparing for a year. We're as well positioned at University of Oklahoma as anybody in the country with what they're doing for these student athletes. And I take credit to OU's athletic department to be this prepared.
Quick break. Are you looking to buy or sell a house in the OKC metro area? I just used the Ronaldo Cloud Group to sell my old house, and it was so easy and stress-free. Stacia Ronaldo and Maddie Cloud are with Sage Sotheby's International Realty. They believe in prompt communication, an honest relationship, and luxury service, and that's exactly what they gave me. You can reach them by emailing stacia@sagesir.com. That's STACIA@SAGESIR.com. Or you can contact them on Instagram at @soldbystacia and @soldbymaddie_. You will not regret using them. Porter, let's talk a little bit about the roster. The first time I spoke to you, you told me that I believe you guys had 3 guys in skill development drills. A lot has happened since then. You have filled out the group. You get the Groves brothers from Eastern Washington. You get Jordan Goldwire in from Duke, Marvin Johnson, a guy that was an all-Ohio Valley player. How are you feeling about how the roster has come together?
I thought we did a good job in the spring. I mean, it's a daunting task. I believe the Big 12 is positioned to be the #1 conference in the country again, the national championship. And you're basically building a team in spring through Zoom and building your whole roster. But I feel good about the guys. Rick Asanza, the 7-1 center, he put his name in the transfer portal after the workouts. And you know what? To his credit, we were really talking face to face. I told him some truths about where he was at. And I did a rare thing. Usually guys in the transfer portal, you don't allow to keep working out. And we said, Rick, I said, keep working out. Keep working out with us while you're in the portal, navigating, trying to find a place. That I think with some of the guys we brought in, he was going to get playing time. At the time, I didn't. And to his credit, and to our staff's credit, we kind of mutually let him keep working out. And it was like a light bulb that went off on him. He was really working hard, getting better. He's never played before. He only had 1 basket in his career. He needs to play. And he's really starting to run and do some things at 7-1. So he's back. So now we have 4 back. The new guys, the Groves brothers, they just love to play, man. They're in the gym all the time. I think this fan base is really going to like them. Tanner is unique. He can pick and pop and shoot it. He can duck you in. He's crafty. He's got great footwork in the post. He's got a high IQ. He can pass and facilitate. We like to really space the floor. A lot of times bring 5 out with it. So I like him. And Jacob's a tough kid, man. He can shoot it. He's almost 6'9" now. Jordan Goldwire, he's had a tweaked groin for the last 10 days, but his early workouts, he's an elite defender now. He really can lock you up. He facilitates his offensive game. He's going to get more of an opportunity to show and display his offensive game. He was really in charge of facilitating, but he played at a high level. I tell you one guy that's really, the Mo, EJ Harkless, and Jalen Hill have really played well. Jalen has really done some nice things. I think the freshmen are coming in and learning. They've actually had their best week so far this week, just like normal freshmen do. It's just a new world for them. We got AK, our junior college player, is really athletic. Ethan Shargwad, he's doing some really nice things. So we're coming together. I like the group. I like the character. I like how they're working. We just got to continue coming together.
You mentioned the Big 12 conference you think is positioned to be the best in the country. Is the conference and your roster, is it a style match from what you're used to for you coaching? You always have to change with your roster and your competition a little bit, but kind of viewing the rest of the league, does it suit you as a coach going up against those teams?
Absolutely. I mean, I've competed against that at Loyola, but you look at the Missouri Valley. The Missouri Valley is an unbelievably well-coached teams. I mean, their strategy, you look at all the coaches that have come out of the Missouri Valley over the years: Matt Painter, Dana Altman, Mark Turgeon. I think Bill Self was at Tulsa. You look at Tubby Smith was in that league. Bruce Weber was in that league. Just over and over, there's guys in that league. Greg McDermott at Creighton. It's a phenomenal coach league, the scouting, the preparation. And, this league is so well coached. I think someone just said there's 6 coaches that have been in the Final Four out of the 10 teams. And it's a extremely well coached league. But I also think it's a very physical defensive league. I look at some of the teams defensively, Kansas, Baylor, Texas now with Beard, Bruce Weber, the way they defend. Everyone, Coach Huggins at West Virginia. It's a grind defensively. And that's what you saw a lot in the Valley of the defensive teams. You think about the Valley, we kind of talked about that league, 11 out of the last 12 first-round games. Out of the last 12 first-round games, the Valley was 11-1. It's a heck of a stat. Actually, now it's 12-1 because Drake won their first round. We both won our first-round game last year. The only loss they had was Bradley lost to Michigan State, who became a Final Four team. They were 10-0 in first-round games. So that's an amazing stat. So this league, you got to be ready for the elite defensive teams in this league. The physicality of the Big 12 is just in the recruiting. You're getting some of the best players in the country. The transfers that came in this league this year, I think the Big 12 did as good as any conference in the country in the portal.
Okay, Coach, I'm gonna put you in a pickle with this one. After doing some digging, I want to know what you're more passionate about: the shell drill or the culture wall?
The culture. The shell drill's a piece of the culture. The shell defensively, there's just a lot of little things. I tell you, if our guys think that I'm attention to detail, they should have seen Rick Majerus at practice. Rick would stop at every pass. We'd pass, stop, pass, stop, pass, stop. He was a perfectionist deluxe. He used to tell me this. Rick would come up to me, he's like, Porter, I got to walk out of the gym. Just let him play for like 10 minutes. We're not getting in any condition because I'm stopping it too much. So I'm going to walk out like I'm taking a phone call and just let it go up and down for like 10 minutes so they at least get some conditioning in. He was amazing. But you know what? He also said this. He said, Porter, coaches that allow slippage in practice, allow it in games. He goes, if you want to be fundamental, if you want to be good at the details of the game, then you got to emphasize them. Then you got to coach them. And that was one of the, people ask me, what was one of the things that I took from Rick Majerus? The attention to detail, the shell, all that. But his teams from practice to games had the least amount of slippage that I've ever been around. Sometimes you'd be in practice and all of a sudden there's a huge slippage in the game and guys are like, well, God, you guys have been doing that. His slippage, it was because of the attention to detail. But, I think the shell is a small part of our bigger culture. So I'm going the second one.
I like it. Details, man. That's always the difference in high level sports. What are we going to see? Just kind of explain to us the product, because I know a lot of people are excited. We want to get back to filling up that gym whenever we're playing at home. You've talked about it. You've talked about getting people out there. What are people going to expect to see whenever they start to show up and watch this team play?
I think the misnomer that people always talk about, they're like, we were number 1 in the country in defense last year, and they talk about that. But like, to me, the mantra that I tell our guys, the mantra that I'm talking to recruits about is this statement right here. Our defense creates our offense. We want to run. We have this mantra called win the first 3 steps, whether it's transition defense or transition offense, win the first 3 steps. So if we get a steal, if we get a missed rebound, a stop, we want to win the first 3 steps in advance. So I really want, people that are going to see us winning those first 3 steps, getting out and running off misses, running off turnovers. That people talk about like the pace. Well, we held the teams. We had the longest defensive shot clock time, like in the country. Us in Virginia, we're holding teams to long. We want to run. We want to do it. I love utilizing the 3-point shot. We got to continue to rep out our threes in practice. We got to continue to get better this offseason and through threes. But I really want this mantra of defense creates offense, run. You're going to see a connected team. I think you're going to see guys connected, fired up for each other, pulling for each other. This fan base is exciting. I tell you, I went over that OU spring football game. I've been to the softball games. I went to a baseball game. I love the fan base, the passion. that this has. And they're going to deserve somebody who's going to get out and play with high energy and act high energy. And that's what you're going to see from us.
Well, Coach, we really appreciate the time. And I will say this, it is good to see that you're still in good spirits despite your Cubs losing 10 in a row.
Ooh.
Okay. We had to go there. We couldn't.
I mean, I had to. I had to. 10 in a row, Porter. What in the world? What? Jake Arrieta has fallen off a cliff.
Oh, did you see the grand slam last night? You see that with the grand slam? I know. But you know what? We're I don't know. We're positioning ourselves, and whether it's a fire sale or I got faith. Hey, I've lived through a lot worse as a Cubs fan my whole life. It's just the recent Cubs fans have been spoiled. But you grow up having a thicker skin of years of this. So we're just going through a little bump. We'll be fine. You got to. Something's going to happen out of this. You what?
You got to reevaluate their pyramid, man.
Yeah. They're mixing around the building blocks around. So we'll get there. Well,
Porter, we really appreciate your time, man. And we're incredibly excited to see where you take the program, and just can't wait to see what you guys do this season. Appreciate you.
Gabe and Teddy, thanks, man. And now that everything's back, opened up, come on in. Let's meet in person and come to a practice or a workout. Hope to see you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.
See you guys.
Ted, I think you'd agree with me. We loved Lon Kruger, right? He did everything the right way. He took the team to the Final Four the one year with Buddy Hield. He was as classy can be, right? But I am pumped for the Porter Moser era. The energy around the program, the energy that man brings, I am all about it, baby. Let's go.
No, I totally agree. Energy, culture, details, effort, all those things. The one thing I do love too, he ties everything he does back to recruiting. That's going to be a big thing for him. And I know this first season, having to bring in a bunch of transfer guys, that's not what he wants it to be. He wants it to be recruiting from the ground up, build that culture, build that roster.
Yep. And on that note, episode 129 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop Monday morning. There'll be lots of stuff to talk about that comes out of Big 12 Media Days. Just a reminder, you can hear Teddy from 2 to 6 on Sports Talk 1400. You can hear me on SiriusXM Big 12 Radio, channel 375. Hope you all have a great weekend. Until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.